Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Talent Talks podcast. I'm your host, Scott Rivers, and looking forward to another great conversation today. Going back to a sales focus, really going to kind of the inside scoop on how to be successful in sales. Today's guest is Marcus Chan. You can find him, as you can with all of our guests, on LinkedIn. You'll see his LinkedIn profile there if you happen to be watching on YouTube. You can also find him at his company's website, and that is Venli Consulting. And I'll make sure and put that in the show notes so you can see it. But Marcus has a consulting firm that he uses to help people in B2B sales. And so you can find him at Venli Consulting. Lastly, if I can do this correctly, you can find him on marcuschan.io. And so in talking with Marcus, we really get into a lot of different areas. I mean, we talk about selling. We talk about how to be successful with selling, how to have a process, how to work the process. We also go and talk about morning routines and what he does to kind of see the future that he wants and how he details that out in order to try and make those things come to fruition. And I give a brief overview of what I do, which is nothing even close to what Marcus does. But I feel like this is an exciting presentation by Marcus. I think that he is very well crafted in what he does, and the things that he talks about are in line with what we're trying to accomplish here, which is help you to increase your sales, increase your marketing, and be a better leader during and after COVID-19. Do me a favor, if you haven't done so already, go ahead and go out to his LinkedIn profile. Go ahead and send him a message to connect. Let him know where you heard about him. And then also do me a favor, wherever you are listening to this podcast, please go ahead and like the podcast. Please give me any comments, but also subscribe to it. Also, if you are on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button on YouTube. That way you'll be notified when these things come open. And certainly we're doing this on the Cerca Talent YouTube site. You'll find us there. If you do a search for Talent Talks and Scott Rivers, you'll see all that information pop up. I am hoping that you'll give me your feedback on this show and others. I always look forward to hearing what you benefited from, what you learned from the shows. I've gotten them from others in the past. I think you'll get a lot from Marcus Chan. So without further ado, here we go. Marcus Chan. Marcus, listen, I really appreciate you coming on today. I'm looking forward to this podcast. I started finding you by going onto LinkedIn, which is where all of our action is, right? That's where we're finding people and getting introduced to them. I found you on LinkedIn. That led me over to Facebook. I started taking in your content on Facebook, and I got to tell you, I've been taking this in for a couple of weeks now. You've got some really good information out there. I'm looking forward to learning more about you on this podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Scott, thanks so much, man. I look forward to talking, drop some bombs here, some gems here, but it's absolutely my pleasure to be out here with you.
Cool. So we talked about it, but the reason that I put this together was I felt like going into COVID-19, companies were in upheaval. They really didn't know what to do, especially with our business, with people calling on hospitals. They're not walking in the door at a hospital. And in fact, I don't think it's going to happen for a while. So I started trying to think of ways that we could help our clients get information on what they could be doing for training, what they could be doing to make their salespeople better, because we're going to be doing video conference sales for a little bit, right? We're going to be doing phone sales for a little bit. And so I'm finding that those companies that are looking to come out of this stronger are investing during this time to make sure that their people come out stronger, better, with more tenacity, more agility, all of those things that you look for in good salespeople. And so that's why you're here. And I'm hoping that we can learn a lot from you, because from all the stuff that I've seen, man, you're putting out some really good content.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. Right. And you're 100% spot on, right? I mean, if companies and salespeople are not able to adapt in this time, they will be left behind, right? They will be left behind, right? And as we see in every type of major situation, whether it's, COVID-19 or recession or any type of major change in industry, those who can adapt with the key fundamentals for success will thrive, but those who don't will eventually just die off. So the actions they take today is really going to determine what happens next 5-10 years and beyond.
So true. So true. Let's do a quick introduction, right? I've taken in, like I said, a lot of information about you. I've read up about you, but why don't you give us a quick introduction on who you are and kind of how you got into this role that you're in today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Marcus Shan. I'm the founder of Venli Consulting Group, and we work directly with B2B sales professionals and businesses to help them sell more and better without needing years of experience. Now, this business is pretty new for me. I've been doing it for about 9-10 months. It's been absolutely incredible. It's been incredible growth. It's been an incredible journey. Obviously challenging like anything else, but it's been an absolute blast. Now, before I started this business, I was actually in corporate America for 14 plus years. I only worked for 2 Fortune 500 companies, started from the very bottom, doing outside sales, was pretty fortunate, got promoted 10 times in 10 years, won a bunch of awards, typical ones like President's Clubs and team awards and all those cool things. And by the tail end of my corporate career, I was running a sales org of 110 employees over multiple states, doing about 9 figures a year in revenue. And that was tons of fun for sure. And then eventually, I wanted to break out to do my own thing, really create that freedom and the lifestyle I wanted to build. So eventually, I launched my business back in September and had not looked back since. But it's been amazing to be able to make a greater impact on the world doing my own thing from everything I'm building with my own hands.
So cool. So cool. And so sales career that was very good, very fruitful for you and your family. But when you started out, it didn't start out so great, did it?
Yeah, when I first got started in sales, is that right?
First got started in sales, that's right.
Yeah. So when I first got started in sales, and I think first off, you have a lot of expectations of yourself, especially when you grow up, working hard and you're competitive, you kind of expect to just win, right? And that was
Sure.
kind of your typical, like for me, I'm like, I'm probably going to win. I'll probably just work hard and I'll be great.
Right.
And when I got started in outside sales, I realized pretty quickly it was not what I expected. Number one, I had no training, no development. My boss had never done the job, but I did get a really nice 2-3 inch thick manual written by people who have never done the job before. So that was cool. So
perfect. Yeah, you had everything you needed to be successful in that.
That's it. And they say, good luck and go out there, right? And because I was doing a startup division of a big company, they actually had 0 clients and customers. So they wanted me to go out there and just get business. I didn't know what I was going to do, right? But all I knew was we were already in the red, meaning we were already unprofitable from day one. So every single day we didn't have like revenue coming in, it hurt. So sure. I went out there first day, I knocked on 60 plus doors. I was canvassing 60 plus doors, got my face slammed, got the door slammed in my face, every single one. But really it took me months, at least 2 months of just failing, not having success, closing 0 deals. So eventually I figured it out, but it was a struggle for sure. Right. And I'm glad I pushed through because obviously once I was able to taste a little bit of progress and success, it was able to help push me through. And then of course I kept making some mistakes until, I got better and better over time. Right. But it was not easy when I started, not at all.
And we'll talk a little bit about that, how you got better. I do think, and I like that background, right? In our recruiting business, I like the background of the B2B sales, knocking on doors, because it teaches you, if you don't already have it, you're going to learn tenacity very quickly. And if it's not for you and you don't have the tenacity, you've learned that this is not the right career for you, right? We're going to go find something 100%. Else to do. It's interesting though. And I think I heard you say this as well, talking about kind of the stigma that went with sales 15, 20, 30 years ago. I know when I jumped into my first sales job, my dad said, son, you're so much better than sales. And probably year 4 or 5, he was like, I am so glad you got into sales, right? Because the money was there and I was getting promoted and moving and doing all of those things. But did you sense that as well when you were jumping into sales coming out of college?
Oh yeah. Well, it was interesting, right? So, being of, my parents are Chinese and Taiwanese, and we were, they were immigrants and they had absolutely nothing. So they had really pushed on me growing up to really become either a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, a pharmacist or something along those lines. And I didn't do any of those things. And
salesperson wasn't on the list, huh?
It was not on the list. Well, it was funny. So before I graduated, I was fortunate I had 5 job offers on the table, a couple analyst jobs, a couple of working the bank jobs, and the sales job, if you will. And I turned them all down to go for the sales job because I saw the opportunity to build something from scratch. And I thought it was really, really cool because it was a startup division. My parents were so against it. right? And they're like, what were you thinking? It's the lowest paying job. Why were you doing this, right? And I told them why. They weren't very happy. And then on top of that, so once I started doing it in the role, I would see friends at parties or dinners, et cetera, or relatives. And of course, everyone asks after you graduate, hey, what are you doing now, right? And I would say, oh, I'm in sales. And they'd look at me like, oh, what do you really want to do? Right. So it took years. I mean, literally, I remember when I finally made six figures like a year later, I had to take my W-2 and show my parents to prove to them, right? Like, hey, look at this. Look at this income I made. Look at this, right? And they were kind of like, okay, maybe. So literally every year I would show them, right? Like my W-2 to try to prove to them it was a good choice. And it took a long time just seeking that approval, right? And then, of course, like as you have more success, you get promoted, right? And it got bigger and bigger and bigger. And they started getting stock options. I started showing them that type of stuff. And they're kind of like, okay, we get it.
We feel good about it.
You made a good decision years ago, right?
Yes.
But there's still a stigma even to this day. There still is.
Yeah, I guess there is, but I don't see it as much. Obviously in our businesses, we're in life sciences, diagnostics, genetics. So these are pretty high level salespeople, high level sales roles. I don't see it as much with that, but I do find a lot of people kind of looking down at the yellow pages person, which I'm sure they're still out there, or the person that's selling at the uniform company, right? There's all of that going on, and these people are doing very well for themselves. And we're going to dig into that too, Marcus. But let's talk about you a little bit more. Obviously, I'm talking about making sure our clients are staying sharp, right? Or getting better during this time. What is it that you do for yourself to make sure that you stay sharp? What are the things you read, the people that you listen to?
Yeah. Well, and there's so many things too, right? So I've learned a very, very long time ago, right? When you work hard at your job, you make a good life, right? But when you work hard on yourself, your brain, right, you can build a fortune, right? Yeah. And I've always taken that into deep consideration, understanding that. So that constant development, staying sharp, is absolutely vital. And I'm not saying like, okay, you know what, I should always read sales books, because for most part that's all key, and that's fine, right? But staying sharp to me is really, how do I maximize my human performance, right? Mm-hmm. How do I maximize my potential in every single part of my life? And when you think about this, everyone has really 4 core energy buckets, okay? You have your mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical buckets. And you need ways to recharge those daily to give the best version of yourself. And everyone has a different size bucket for each one. So for me personally, I know that for me, physical and mental is most important. So for me to stay on my game, I need to feed my brain daily. I need to grow my brain daily, but also I need to protect it as well. Meaning I need to protect it from negative things and distractions, because distractions starve your ability to achieve the goals that you want, right? Yes. So for example, I will, we talked about Brendan Burchard earlier, right? I mean, sure. I'll read and listen to him all day long, right? But I don't watch the news. I don't read the news intentionally, right? I mean, I read very little news. It's kind of like, oh, great, I better just make sure I'm up to date. But for the most part, I block it out, because when I read the news, it doesn't help me make an impact on my clients or my audience or the people, my family directly, right? So when I'm my best version of myself, by feeding my mind the right things, it helps me be the best version of myself. And that's built into my routines, from my morning routine to my evening routine. So this way, every morning and every evening, I'm feeding the mental piece of me, the physical piece of me, the emotional, spiritual. So those buckets are recharged daily, twice a day. So that way I can be the best version of myself and stay sharp and focused for everyone, whether it's this podcast, whether I'm talking to a client or to anybody else or a project that I'm working on. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense to me. Yeah. And in fact, during this time, I kind of pulled that back for myself to do the same thing. I found that, you and I were probably working similar hours, right? 60, 70 hours a week when you're working on your own business. You're working on the weekends. You're spending time at night after the kids are asleep or once they get home. And so I found that, I was letting go of a lot of those areas, especially physically. Yeah. Mentally, I'm always trying to take in new information. Also, like you, I've cut out the news. It's not impacting me in a positive way, so I pull it out. But, I've gotten to where I'm on a bike at least 4 times a week. Most of the time it's 5 times a week. I get up at 5 in the morning and I'm out the door by, 5:30, 5:45 to start that ride. Very similar things. Now you said you're doing it morning and night. So do you have, what's the morning routine for you?
Yeah. So I'll wake up 5 o'clock, very similar to you. Right. So I don't check my phone. So I literally, alarm goes off, turn it off, boom, get out of bed, go brush your teeth, change. I'm in my home gym by 5:15. And during that time, I'll do a 30-minute power workout. So it's 360 to 400 repetitions of a really targeted muscle group. It's all mapped out. I know exactly what I'm going to do. There's no thinking involved. It's just go and do, right? Go. Yeah. I crush the workout. I'm listening to something that's going to feed my mind. So right now, like I've listened to it. I actually listened to a book now. So I'm reading. It's by Vishen Lakhiani, The Buddha and the Badass. Right. Okay. So phenomenal book. He also wrote the book Code of the Extraordinary Mind. So it's a great book across the board. So I'm listening to that. I'm learning, developing, crush my workout, go shower, change, and then I go downstairs into my home office here. And I will then write out my 1, 3, and 5 year goals. I'll physically write them all out, right? And it's really important for me to visit this daily for that. So I write it all out. Then I go through a series of affirmations for 5 minutes out loud. And then I go and actually, I do what's called a vivid vision. So you're gonna think it's kind of crazy, but I literally will visualize my perfect day exactly 1 year from today, assuming I achieved every single one of my 1 year goals, right? And what I actually did, Scott, you're finding it's crazy. I literally wrote out like a narrative from when I wake up, from like how I feel to what's happening. I wake up 5 a.m. My alarm goes off. I'm fired and excited. And it's a story I've narrated out from wake up to end of the day. Every single moment, how I feel, what happens throughout the day, different things that are going on. And I recorded my audio of it. And I made an audio clip that I listened to for 10 minutes while visualizing my perfect day 1 year from today, right?
Okay, Marcus, and then, hold on. You do this every morning?
Well, to be specific, every weekday. So weekend, I give myself a break. Yeah, every weekday. Oh, yeah. Hold on, I'm not done. There's more.
Okay.
Yeah, it's even more.
All right, I'm ready. Let's go.
You ready?
Let's do it.
So then I visualize my upcoming day, the perfect day, right? Because I already know what's happening in my calendar. I visualize what my upcoming day is going to look like, going the exact way I want to go, right? And then eyes open and I step into my day, right? And so this whole thing takes about 90 minutes from wake up to start. So I start work about 6:30 and then I'm going. But that sets me up, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually I'm mentally primed now to take on my day. So whatever happens after that, because it can go to hell after that, which might happen, does not matter. It's probably going to happen realistically. But at the end of the day, I know I've controlled the first 90 minutes of my day, right? And then whatever happens. And then I have my afternoon routine or evening routine as well. But that's what it breaks down to. Now, I did not start that way, just so you know. It's evolved over time, and it started much smaller, and it got bigger as I started to become a better version of myself. I had to level up. So, it's changed.
I like it. So my affirmations are nothing like that. For me, it's the bike, it's cold showers, cold water, wake up, get moving. We'll go into mine later. I like yours. That was good. Marcus, what led me to you, as I said earlier, was finding you on LinkedIn. So I found you on LinkedIn. We started kind of communicating. I started really looking at the content you're putting out. You're putting out tremendous amounts of information, and you're doing it for free to start. And I know there's a reason for that. We'll talk about it. But, most of the time when I find people on LinkedIn, that's their sole area. They're focused on LinkedIn. I found you also had a free group over on Facebook. So you kind of pulled me into another social platform. Talk to me about that. You've got LinkedIn, right? Number one for business. It's probably the 10th most used site in the world right now. But you're still pulling people back to that Facebook. Tell me about it. Why?
Yeah. So great question, right? So if you think about this, from the dawn of time, your ability to communicate to your audience is number one, all right? However, over history, the method has changed over time, right? Whether it's been telegraph, it's been Morse code, whether it's been like, cups and string, to text messages, to email, to social media. So your ability to get in front of your prospect is the most important thing, right, for a business. And I know that. I also know this. Today, right now, LinkedIn is the new hotness right now. Everyone's like, sure. LinkedIn. People have built businesses right around LinkedIn.
That's right.
What happens if tomorrow the algorithm changes again? What happens if tomorrow Microsoft sells off LinkedIn? You have now lost your whole audience, right? Yeah. So the more ways you can, not only say a hook, but connect with your audience that you're targeting, the more you can frame them up with your content, the better you're going to be, right? Because over time, what's ends up happening is this. If you do a good job, say on LinkedIn, people will find you on other platforms, and then you can continue to nurture and develop them, provide value for them. And the more places that they could see you, right, and see your visibility, the more of a brand equity is built in their mind. So I utilize LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. I have an email newsletter, right? So I have multiple ways to get in front of it, and I do organic traffic. I do paid traffic, right? So I'm like a disease. I want to be everywhere.
You're spreading right? Everywhere.
Everywhere. I'm spreading. I'm like the Marcus epidemic of sales training, right? And you go around, you spread, right? And when you understand that helps in the long run. And if you do more up front, it pays dividends in the long run. And I've seen it where, I made the mistake early on when I first was building my side hustle before it became a full business. Mm-hmm. When it was a side hustle, I went all in on Instagram. And it was really cool because at that time, Instagram had amazing organic growth. I mean, right. I went from like 0 to 10,000 followers in a really short time. And I'm like, wow, this is really cool. And then they started making
Marcus,
changes.
What year was that? What year was that? When did you start doing that?
So I started diving into Instagram really heavily for the side hustle. That was like 2014 or 15, right? Okay. Yeah. So organically, it was still a really great platform. Right. And then now it's changed quite a bit because obviously they're part of Facebook and they drive an ad revenue, et cetera. So now the organic traffic is just not the same, right? And even that, my target audience wasn't really there. So when that hit me, I'm like, oh crap, I need a better way to nurture and get in front of my audience, right? Mm-hmm. And the email is always going to be king for now because that's no matter wherever they go, they usually will keep the same email, right? So emails, and next is really probably SMS, right? So the text messages, right? But then I'm like, I'm going to dive into LinkedIn as well, and also for Facebook as well too. Yeah. So, and the group function is a little bit different than just having a Facebook page. There's a whole strategy behind a group versus just a page that, depending on your goal for the business, you have to do a certain way to ensure you are able to communicate with your audience in a non-spammy way.
Yeah. So you're covering your bases. You're making sure you're where your customers are going to be and where they're looking for you. So let's carry that over to our client base, right? When you start looking at the areas of life sciences, genetics, biotechnology, and I know you work with people in this space, medical device and those areas. How should they be putting information out or content out in order to draw people towards them? Well, what can they be doing on LinkedIn? And I don't know if to me, Facebook is mostly garbage. And in fact, what I've done with it, and I'll tell you this was a game changer for me. I got rid of just about everything that was not focused on those things that I enjoy. So I go to Facebook now to look at content like yours, right? To better myself. I go to Facebook to look at bicycles. I go to Facebook to look at watches. Other than that, I kind of stay off of it because it starts to get into areas that I just don't want to mess with, the political side and everything else behind it. I stay out of that. So for me, I still think our group, our people, LinkedIn is the push, but you tell me, what are you teaching your people for technology?
Yeah. First off, I'm a watch guy too, so I feel you. So, nice. So I think what's important to understand is how are you using social media to get in front of your prospects, right? And what's going to be your target market? What needs do they have? What are the biggest problems that you can help solve through social media? And it's really important to understand that because the mistake I see many businesses make is they're just pushing out basically advertisements, right?
That's right.
Hey, check out my new product. Hey, check out, we just did this testing here. Check out this case study, which some people are seeing value, but most are not. Most of the target audience is not going to see value in that. All right. So what you really need to do is you want to focus on, hey, who is your ideal target market? What are the biggest problems they run into, and how can you provide content and value to solve them in a very quick win? It does not mean you need to say, hey, listen, book a call with me or book, emails for more information. No. Provide some sort of value for your target market. That's really, really vital. Now, the thing is, in today's era, the personal brand is so important, right? And for many companies out there, they are not utilizing some of the best ways to market, which are really their employees. And, and I see some companies who do a phenomenal job, like such as like Gong or Gravy. They're more like, sales organizations, right. And their employees are like the marketers. Like they're salespeople. They're on there posting amazing content. Has nothing to do with their company at all. Nothing to do with the company at all. And people love it, and they're building up a brand and recognition, right? And here's the thing. When you start building up an audience, right, and ideally if you are solving a specific problem, then you'll get the right people seeing your content, in which when they're thinking about a change or thinking about something, you become top of mind. But what happens is people love social proof, right? And when you can see clearly many people are engaging with this person's content, they are of value, you are more likely to go work with them. That's simply it, right? Like if Brendan Burchard tomorrow, we're talking about Brendan Burchard, if Brendan Burchard said, hey guys, tomorrow, don't eat meat anymore because you're going to die. So many people just stop eating meat because he just said that. It has nothing to do with what he talks about, right? Because he has built up an expertise, his audience is going to follow, right?
And it's a trust thing, right? They trust him. And so we're trying to get people to trust us as we're putting out the content. I find, though, that a lot of times individual salespeople they're afraid of letting people understand who they are, right? So they just keep posting the same stuff about, here's something from the company, here's something from the company. Yes. And that's not valuable. I think that individual brands are more important now. I'm a Gary Vee guy, right? Individual brands are just like the most important thing now and in the future. And I think companies need to be very comfortable with that. And I'm not sure that individuals are always comfortable thinking that their company might not like what they put out. I mean, what guidance do you give people on that?
Yeah, so that's a great question, right? So I think first off, let's probably talk from the perspective of the company, and we talk about the perspective from the employee, right? That's fair. From a company perspective, it's vital to actually create the culture where it's okay for people to post on social media, right? And that starts from the top, right? I mean, it has to be very, very clear. So, for example, my wife works over at a little shoe company called Nike. Probably heard of them, right? So,
heard of it.
Right. So, and their CEO is starting to put out content. He put out video content. He filmed like on his phone and put it out there. And that's a really powerful message to see that, right? So it starts from the leadership actually putting out content that has nothing to do with the company, but putting out stuff as of value, right? And that's very powerful, and helping teach people how to use it as a brand and making them very comfortable for them. So, for example, Gravy is the other company I'm thinking of off the top of my head because I'm connected with the CEO there. He's posting content consistently, and many levels below him are all doing the same thing because you see it, they're like, oh, it's totally cool. Casey's doing it. Everyone else can do it too, right? So they see it, and then they see it's like there's vulnerability, there's stories, there's value, there's tips, there's whatever, and it's so powerful for that company because number one, they'll get more clients. Number two, their employees feel more open to be able to be themselves. Number three, they can recruit better, right? I mean, number four, the revenues are going to come with it, right? And because there's no tangible dollar you can tie to and say, hey, we did one post and X dollars came from it right now. Most people are scared of that, right? So it's really empowering your people to be comfortable with that, right? To be able to be really, truly be their whole selves, even online, without fear of repercussion and judgment. That's from a leader's perspective, okay? From an employee perspective, if you are unclear as an employee, if you can do that, then you need to have a conversation with your leader. And understand that, is it okay or not? And be clear about your intention, right? Because if you are not clear with your intention with your boss about why you're doing it, they may think you're trying to get another job, right?
Sure.
Or they may think you're trying to be the next Gary Vaynerchuk, right? So I think you have to be really clear with your intentions. I'll give you an example. My last company, I posted stuff, right? And I knew some people in my org was not comfortable with it. They'd be like, hey, why are you posting these articles, et cetera, right? Why are you doing these things? And people got a little weird about it. And I understand that, right? It's a Midwest company. They're a little bit old school. I get it, right? But if you have control, right, as an owner of a company, as a CEO or an exec, create the environment. Because here's what some people did not understand because they didn't seek to understand why I was doing it. I recruited so much talent off LinkedIn because of the brand I was already building. Yeah. We generated millions of dollars as a result in revenue because of deals like that, right? I mean, it's such a powerful tool if you use it right, but you have to create the right boundaries for your employees to be able to use it as a tool to build a business up.
Yeah, and it does help your employment brand. It helps people decide, hey, is this a company I'd like to be a part of? And I think employment brand, and we try to help our clients with this a lot. Employment brand is so important right now because people today want to work for companies that they believe in and that they feel like have a good culture and have a future and are focused on not only the customer but on their employees. And so I think that doing what you're doing or what you did, it helps you, right? It brings the right people, it attracts the right people to you, and it probably pushes away those that wouldn't be a good fit for you anyway. So it's smart, very smart.
100% right. 100% right.
Yeah. So let me ask you, COVID-19 is upon us. It's still upon us, right? We're still dealing with it. I think we're going to be dealing with it for a long time. So as we look at the foreseeable future, face-to-face meetings for salespeople, and especially in the hospital, are going to be few and far between, right? I've talked to some on the device side calling on surgical suite where they're already back in, right? They're dealing with their doctors. Outside of that, though, it's going to be difficult. What do you think are areas that these individuals need to focus on in order to be most effective dealing with either Zoom meetings or dealing with Skype meetings? To me, saying you need more at-bats is not getting you where you need to go. There's got to be a plan, right? But what do you think? Give us some ideas of what people need to be doing to be more effective during this time.
Yeah. So first off, just simply saying work harder and see more people is never a viable solution to solving a problem. All right. It's the how do you do it, right? And I think the first off is, well, whether you are a sales professional or a leader, number one is the question is, okay, so if we're not able to meet face-to-face, how can we break through the noise to get in front of our target market? All right.
Yes.
And that may mean either being more effective on the phones, right? It may mean investing in some sort of seeding process where you can seed doctors with whatever compliance, whatever industry you're in. How can you get in front of them to capture their attention, right? And also that's more top of the funnel work, right? That also means better email copy, better on the phones. All is absolutely vital. And then if you add in content strategy, all right, if you build a content strategy as well, how can you position your salespeople or your company as the expert in X, right? And that's really, really vital. And again, this goes back to the proper marketing to get in front of your people. And you have to go where they are at, right? So if, for example, you cannot just go, for example, let's talk about LinkedIn for example, right? So LinkedIn, so talking with people that are in, med device or pharma, some of them say, well, doctors are not on LinkedIn. That's what I hear sometimes, right? There are 500 million plus active users. I guarantee you some of them are going to be your target market. I guarantee it, right?
Yes.
However, when you think about social media, just like anything else, social media is a whole ocean, okay? And you have to find where is your target market? Where are they hanging out? Okay. So let me give you some examples of how to find those little pockets of ocean, pockets of bodies of water where your fish are hanging out. So for example, here's a really simple, easy one, right? Is you look up a common hashtag of the industry, right? Of that specific target market you're in, right? Like, so for example, if you are in if you have like hashtag pharmaceuticals, it's probably too general, right? But there's probably specific ones that are really niche, right? Like If it's like, it might be like lab. What's a common one for you, Scott? What's a really common one?
Well, especially right now, you would look at diagnostics, COVID-19, or something
Perfect.
very specific.
Yeah, start with something like that, right? Just look at like hashtag diagnostics, right? You go in the hashtag, you look at first, you filter down by relevant, and you take a look and see who's posting what about that. Now, it may or may not be a doctor, which is okay, right? But maybe it's a thought leader, right? Or a micro influencer. Maybe they have 5, 10K, and 1,000 followers, but they're posting valuable content about diagnostics in there.
Yeah,
that's cool. Now look at the comments. Who's commenting in the comments? Are they doctors? Your target market? There's a potential chance that your target market, right? And you start doing a little search, the same concept. You'll find these micro conversations in these threads, and that's where these little bodies of water are. And you can do the same thing for every single hashtag. You can also sort it by by most recent, same thing. And you look for these things. So when you find them, you go in there and you read the post, whatever it's about, and you drop a super thoughtful, insightful comment that's about the topic, right?
Yeah, engagement, right? Engagement.
100%. But if you do a really good job, they'll check you out, right? And now you start to build some eyes on you. So this is where there's a back part of the strategy where you have to have a really optimized profile to turn them into leads. But now they're looking at you, right? And now they're engaging. But on top of that, now you can engage with the comments as well. And what happens is you can't just do one time and suddenly you're going to be well known and get leads. But now you start actively doing consistently. Yeah. You become well known. You become, oh, hey, here's Marcus, who's in the diagnostics, industry, and people know all about him. Okay, now you become well known. So again, it's really getting in front of them. And you do the same concept for any social media platform. You can do it for groups. You can do it really anywhere. You can do it in Reddit threads. Maybe there's certain like blogs of really well-known macro influencers or thought leaders. The exact same thing. And you take that same concept and you hang out there and you engage and you post and you get in front of them as well. Now, it's a long-term game for sure, but I can build some good leads. But you add that in with becoming better on the phones, becoming better on email, and get in front of your prospects, which means getting really good also in the DMs of any social media platform. That's right. Using those to convert people into leads, right? And then, of course, you need to work on video skills as well, because majority of them are going to be done via Zoom or some sort of platform. So you have to be nails on camera as well. That's and right. There's some skill tied to that too.
Yeah. Make sure you have
a long answer, but
No, it's great. It's great. And I'm sure that you help your clients do this all the time, right? When you start talking about video, the lighting is important. And there's things that you've got to do to make sure that you're giving your best picture when you're talking to people. And frankly, listen, the biggest part of it is you got to do it more often, right? The more times I'm in front of camera, the better I feel. Yeah. As bad as this mug is, I feel better in front of camera now than I did a year ago. And so you just keep doing it and keep doing it.
That's right.
How about leaders? I feel like right now we need leaders more than ever, right? We need to make sure that we've got leaders that are not only motivating their groups, but helping them to grow and learn and do what they need to do to come out of this stronger than ever. And I'm finding a lot of companies are investing in people like yourself to be able to come in and help them to do that. But let's talk about the leadership right now. What are things that they need to be doing right now with their sales teams, with their marketing teams, with their companies to have them come out stronger?
Yeah. So I think first thing is, right now, many leaders are becoming very exposed. If they were already a bad leader before COVID, now everything gets exposed about them. Okay. And what I mean by that is, now if you're not able to see your team at all, maybe you were flying in, seeing your rep once a month or whatever, that's all gone now, right? So now it's all going to be virtual. So any weakness in your leadership skills, it becomes so much more evident as a result. And because of that, because there's less connection, there's less touches, and if some leaders which have gone down the really bad path of micromanagement via email or Slack messages or text messages, right, which is like, hey, what did you do today? What were your results? Not good, right? So I've seen distrust as the gaps really widen from the trust perspective, right? So there's way more distrust now with leadership and reps than ever. And that has to be minimized as much as possible, right? So, and that goes to, from the very get-go, it goes to, really, number one, knowing your team, knowing what each rep's love languages really are, and actually leading them through this, right? What people do not want to see is an armchair quarterback, right? Meaning say, hey team, all right, we're behind our number. I want everyone to buckle down and double the dials and send more cold emails than ever. I want you to do, like 5 more lunch and learns this week. Well, okay.
Marcus, that doesn't work.
It doesn't work, right?
If you just raise the bar, that doesn't work.
Right. So, but unfortunately, that's what's happening, right? So, right now, and this is how it really should be at all times. Every single time a leader is working with their rep or interacting with them, it's an opportunity to deposit trust, to inspire, help, and develop them to make them better, right? And that really starts from leading from the front. So, for example, if I was talking to one of my clients actually earlier today, she's a district business leader, and which we're talking about with her is there's a distrust between her team and her right now, right? Okay. And she is struggling to gain their trust because she's telling them to go see more people. I'm like, no, stop doing that, right? They're telling me the objections are they can't get in front of doctors, they don't want to meet with them, they're too busy. There's COVID, there's the economy. There's always going to be an objection. That's what it is, right? Sure. And she's like, well, I'm telling them what to say and what to do. I'm like, no. At this point, let's show them. Like, I want you to do is I want you to block off the rest of your afternoon. I want you to get on the phones and book one appointment for each rep. Just do it. And then call them and say, hey, guess what? I just booked one for you. And
here's how I did it.
Here's how I did it, right? And what will happen is a couple of things. Number one, they will become inspired, right? Holy crap, like it's possible. It is possible. And number two, now they're like, my boss is in the trenches with me. They are helping me fight COVID and the economy together. We're arm in arm now versus them on their throne saying, go make calls. So there's so much power out there. And of course, if you do consistently and you help them, it's leading from the front, right? So that's really directly working with that rep to help inspire and develop. So identify their obstacles, help show them, and help them do it. What else are you doing as a leader right now? You only have so many reports when you're actually not, especially as in the field that you're in. Most of them are not traveling now, right?
But I'll tell you what most of them are doing is they're on conference call after conference call after conference call.
Yes,
and salespeople are on conference call after conference call after sales call after Salesforce call. Like there's a lot of calls going on, but the productivity, I think everyone would say it's high because they're working really hard. And I do believe most people working from home are working really hard, but there's probably a better way to do it. Again, we're trying to come out of this better, faster, 100%. Stronger. So I think there's probably a better way to do it. I like what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think with leaders, right, which goes in other pieces, like remove obstacles, right? If you're as a leader, if you are doubling down with more conference calls, get crystal clear what's truly, really revenue generating like meetings. Like, do we need to have this call? Do we need to send this email? Like, just because everyone's behind a laptop now does not mean there need to be more emails, more Slack messages, more calls, right? Like, how can you lean out as much as possible? And I get some you cannot. I get that, right? You got to run a business, but lean out as much as you can, right? Does it mean a complete change in routine? Like work with the team. If you uncover there's 4 critical conference calls the team has to be on every single week, right? Talk with the team. Is it better 1 per day at the beginning of the day? Is it better have one day, just get them all out of the way? Like what is it going to be, and set some clear boundaries for communication, right? So the technology does not become a distraction, right? For example, I find Slack to be a distraction, right?
Yes.
Like I literally don't have notifications on my phone for like Slack or my email because you get too many. Like I literally, if every time it pings, I want to look at it, right? So that's distracting. So remove those obstacles.
I want to look at it dopamine right here. Yeah, every time.
Right. So, help them by removing obstacles, right? And then also provide them the resources that will help them become successful, right? If they're not going to phones, obviously I'm biased. If they're not going to phones, invest in their training, invest in their development, right? If they're not good at writing email, invest in that, right? If you need to work on, if you need a social media strategy, invest in a social media strategy, right? Like invest in things that are going to generate future revenue, even though you may not see the immediate impact right now, right? But it will pay off in the long run, because what happens is the longer it takes for them to have success, mentally, they start going downhill,
Sure.
right?
Absolutely.
And they are more open to hearing that recruiter phone call, right?
Yep.
Right? They're top talent, like, oh, it's been tough. I'm going to answer this phone call now. This sounds way better, and they're more likely to leave as well. So there's many other side consequences that result when you don't take care of the people who are generating the revenue for the business. There just is.
And it's funny you talk about that. You talk about the recruiting side. And I tell you, what we've seen is that companies who are, and I keep saying this, companies who want to come out of this stronger, they're investing in recruitment. They're still looking for top talent, because there's some very good people that are either on the market or open to being on the market right now. Right. Now, we're also seeing another side of this, which is, people who are currently employed have a lot of internal equity at that company, are well respected, liked, and performing. Yep. It's tough to pull them away 100%. Because, they're thinking, okay, I'm might change this company. I'm going to go to this company. I'm going to be the last one in. If something goes south, I'm going to be the first one out. And so I think 100%. Companies need to keep thinking about that. But overall, I'm seeing people are making changes in jobs, and a lot of it has to do with, and we talked about it earlier, your employment brand is important. If people 100%. see what they like on LinkedIn and other social media, or hearing from people who work there that it's a great place to be, you've got a much better shot of getting that high caliber salesperson, that amazing 100%. Marketing person that's done 10 launches in this area of business and done them successfully. So all great information. Good stuff. Marcus, tell us about the Venli Consulting Group. I mean, I know that you're working with individuals and companies on a regular basis, but who's your ideal contact? Who's your ideal customer, if you will, to engage with you and work with you and help build sales careers?
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. Right. So ideally, they're going to be in the business to business space, right? So they're selling, not necessarily like distributors, really they're direct selling to other businesses, right? That's really, really ideal, right? And whether they are brand new to sales or have 30 plus years, it doesn't really, really matter. If they want to sell more and earn more and take it to the next level, those are people that we partner up with. But we also, because you're quite direct, we're not cheap, right? Because you simply get results. So we have close to 100% success rate with every single person, because simply put, when they put forth the work, they get the results that they're looking for, right? So, and that spans from really, I have people from med device, people in pharma, we have SaaS, we have people in recruiting services, we have industrial services, we have really merchant services, banking. We have it across all industries that I work with, right? And some businesses as well. So I work with some businesses where it's with their whole sales team, right? Or their whole sales force as well, right? But most of my marketing you'll see is really targeted towards individual contributors. Yep. Because really, to work with someone who's 100% committed, right? It takes their game to the next level. It's very selfish. It's very gratifying for me, right? To say, hey, you know what? I literally saw the result, right? That's amazing, And when there's, when they send me a text because the biggest commission check's like $50,000 or something for the month, I'm like, I'm pumped for them.
You're excited,
them, right? They're excited, and I'm excited too for them. So it's pretty cool.
Well, that's cool. And you've also got some programs. Let's see if I can pull this up here. I think I can. So you've got programs online, which I'm showing right now on the screen that people can look at. Tell us about this program. This is a free program, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. So this is I just put together that webinar. It's how to sell more and earn more. So it's an hour-long training, very robust. really 99% of what I put out is free, right? So, and reality is I teach a lot, from that to my Facebook group, to my posts, to my blog, to my newsletter. I put out quite a bit of free content as well, designed to help people, right? Because once they're ready to join me and in their journey to take the game next level, they get the whole blueprint, right? They get basically all put together step by step. But I provide quite a bit for free, even if people are not ready to spend the money. But
Yeah.
at the end, I'm biased because if you can spend $1 and make back 10, I don't know. That seems like a no-brainer to me. So
seems like a no-brainer to me as well. Tell me where should people go? All right, I'm going to have to switch this real quick. There we go. We just lost camera, so we're going to switch the camera.
No
Tell me where people should go in order to find out more about you. What's the best place to go?
Awesome. So LinkedIn's a super easy one. If you're already on LinkedIn, you can just type in Marcus Chan. It's the only guy with Speedos in the tagline, right? But I offer a ton of free resources. If you go to marcuschan.io/resources, there's links to all the free content right inside there. To connect me, it's all right inside there in a very, very simple one-pager for everyone.
But no Speedos pictures, right? We're not going to put that anywhere.
Well, there's only a couple, and I can DM to you later, Scott. It's totally fine.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Before we end, we're focused on talent, right? I'm always interested to see what people look for in talent, what they ultimately say, I'm hiring for this. So as you're interviewing people and you're looking for talent for your organization or previous organizations, what are those things that you are looking for to identify? How do you identify them?
Yeah.
And what's that one thing that you say, I will hire somebody if they have this?
Yeah. So I go by a really simple analogy, right? It's something I've used for years. It's called POG, POG, right? So it's the first P is they have a proven track record, right? Okay. Very important. I mean, that's pretty common, especially in your industry. I want to know they have a proven track record of winning in every single thing they have put their hand on, right? I don't care what it was. They were a chess player. I want them to be a winner, right? If they played badminton, I want them to be a winner. If they're in sales, they got to be a winner, right? I mean, winners win. It's simple as that, right? The O is obsessed with achievement. Like I have found the top performers are obsessive. Like they're obsessive about finding and getting results. They're obsessed with making sure to get whatever they put their mind to, they get to, right? So obsessive, right? The next G, the G is grit. Pretty self-explanatory. Yep. They have to have grit, right? Next P is positive. They got to be positive, right? I mean, I don't want to hang out with people with a bunch of energy vampires, right? Yep. So having positive people is really, really critical. O, organized. I like people that are organized, right? If they're organized in how they think and how they process, there's so much less issues on the back end, right? So if they're organized with how they run their business, so important. And then the last G is that they are a game changer, a GOAT, a greatest of all time, right? They come in there and they want to take things and make it better, right? They don't want to come in and be status quo. They don't want to come in and be a number. They don't want to come in and be a soldier. They want to come in and be a leader to lead everything across the board. So when they have POG, chances are pretty good that they're probably going to be a really awesome hire, and they probably will do big things for my team. So that's what I look for. Super easy to find, by the way. Super easy to find.
Now, is this your creation, POG, or is this okay? You've put this together. Does POG mean anything else?
No. Okay. Well,
right.
It was just like it just was an easy way to really think through the process, right? Because I mean, I've literally just like I'm sure you know way more, but I've interviewed thousands of people, right? So, sure. And I have seen some really awful talent out there. And if you don't have a good criteria to kind of stack them against, it doesn't mean it's a guarantee, but it's pretty high chances if you can go through to kind of see what they got there, right? And really, I found the best way to uncover those type of things is number one. I mean, I'm big on brag books, right? Like, show me that brag book. Show me
old
those
school,
rankings.
Man. Old school. I like it. Right?
Show me recommendations. Show me social proof. Like, lead with the result, right? I'm the same way. Show me the result, right? Yeah. And I think it's really
I tell you what, guys, you go look at Marcus on LinkedIn, and you're going to see that he believes in this. I'm pretty sure you've got more recommendations on LinkedIn than anybody else I've ever talked to. So that's an area. That's an area that. I think that you're probably focused in that, but it's really speaks volumes to you as well and the benefit that you've given to people because they're going in and you read through those. I mean, I was going to hire you before I even put you on the podcast. So now I've got you on the podcast and we're friends. So we're going to have to talk about a special deal or something else later on.
There you go.
Marcus, really good having you on the show. I appreciate you coming on. I hope that we'll be able to do this again. I know we've got other areas that we've talked about kind of discussing, and we can include those also maybe in the next season of the podcast. But thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it. See ya.
Yeah, my pleasure. Take care. You've just listened to another Talent Talks podcast with Scott Rivers. Today's guest, Marcus Chan. I really appreciate Marcus coming on the show. I think that the energy he brings and the knowledge that he has is just really great. And I feel like he is helping both individuals and companies with their B2B sales and really putting a structure around that. Some of the things that he talks about in a morning routine, I'm going to want to adopt those coming soon. I think that mine might have been a little bit weak there. But all that being said, Marcus, great show. Thanks for coming on. If you would like to reach out to Marcus, please do so. Send him a message on LinkedIn if he can help you or your company. Let him know you found him here on the Talent Talks podcast. Until next time, I am Scott Rivers, your host. Good luck out there, guys. Keep selling and working hard. We're going to get through this together.